Well, for a march to the Public Protector's office on Friday, members of several opposition political parties assembled in Pretoria. The protesters were calling for the release of a report from acting Public Protector Advocate Koleka Gcalega's probe into a break-in at President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala Phala farm in 2020. Well, joining me now to discuss these events is a political analyst, Professor Sethulego Matebesi. Professor, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us on our morning program. Just very quickly, your thoughts on the protestations that we saw happening outside the Public Protector's office yesterday. Political parties clearly making that call, applying that pressure on the Public Protector to release that report.
Good morning, Ntokoza, and good morning to South Africans. There is two things that we need to highlight with regard to the approach of the opposition parties. Firstly, it has to do, or it speaks to accountability, it speaks to transparency. But fact of the matter is we also have to ask many questions about their approach. It's good what they're doing. It's good for democracy. But the moment when you put pressure on an institution to release the report, my question is, will they not turn around and say later that this is not what they expected? They need to allow the Public Protector to investigate the matter, to finalize the report. Yes, it's fine, these protests and actions can go on, but at the end of the day, let us allow these institutions to work within their mandate, and it's only afterwards. Look, it's not yet 6 months that have passed since this matter has been brought to the office of the Public Protector. And I mean, if I just very briefly also, I mean, the President responded to this particular question, but there's always been indications that the opposition parties are not satisfied with those responses. So perhaps they should start telling us what answers do they want rather than just wanting the reports to be released.
The other irony here, Professor, that was highlighted during the demonstrations is the fact that a lot of these political parties approached, in fact, laid a complaint with the same institution, the Office of the Public Protector, partly, I'm assuming, relying on the independence of the institution and its impartiality to carry out an investigation into what may or may not have happened in Phala Phala. Those very same political parties are also applying this pressure. It would seem that there is a bit of an ironic situation playing out in front of us where the assistance of the Public Protector was sought out because of its independence, yet there may in fact be an issue of political interference playing out in front of us with these demonstrations that we're seeing outside the PP's office.
Yeah, most definitely. If you look at the situation, first of all, yes, we will never be satisfied with the answers that we get from the President, and sometimes many South Africans will also bad side with some of these opposition parties in terms of the stance that they've taken, the approach that they have taken. But one should also understand that currently you've got an acting, Public Protector. The current Public Protector has been suspended. There's been a court outcome in that respect, but we all know constitutionally the President still has the right, or his decision still stands up until the Constitutional Court take a decision. Now, all these matters where now there is, I will not say undue pressure, because what the opposition parties are doing, it's part of their mandate, it's part of their responsibility to highlight maybe some of the issues that they take issue with, or the fact that factors that they take issue with. And one issue that they take, perhaps I can also understand where the opposition parties come from, is that it seems as if to them, in their eyes, that some of these Chapter 9 institutions, including, the Reserve Bank, are taking too long. But that in itself also is a huge concern to me, because then since when do external parties determine the turnaround time of these kind of investigations. Let the opposition parties highlight their concerns, but let they allow these institutions to do their job, and it's only afterwards that I can start interrogating this. And for me, it's a theft that has taken place, but yet so many people knows unless if the individuals who participated in the theft have been there and there is some form of verification of how much money has been stolen. I'm not siding with the president. It is definitely not something that any South African can be proud of, and definitely there should be some form of action being taken against the president, for instance, who has been gone against the law. But let us allow those institutions to make the call, and then only afterwards can we react to that.
Right. Professor, early last month, the Public Protector, in fact, released a statement cautioning around what we're discussing here, the undue political pressure that the Office of the Public Protector was seemingly feeling with all of the calls and the demands being made on it to release the report, warning that it may in fact be tantamount to some kind of constitutional interference with the work of the Public Protector. In that very same statement, she also highlighted the issue around disclosure, the disclosure of documents or evidence that has been given to the Public Protector in the course of the office's investigations into whatever matter. We recently had those leaks come into, the public's attention, leaks with regards to the president's supposed responses to the Public Protector with regards to Phala Phala. What does that do to the integrity of the investigation that is still underway and the integrity of a report that we're still, as a country, waiting for, that has already been sort of subjected to leaks and subjected to political attacks of this nature?
Yeah, well, it's the nature of politics. Look, there are no long-term enemies, but in politics, you've got a friend 5 minutes ago, and then just a couple of seconds later, he or she becomes your enemy. That's the nature of politics. And when people have, document the evidence and they decide to make that public and only then avail those documents to, your investigative units, that in itself also is indicative of people having an ulterior motives to trying to put undue pressure on the Public Protector. But yes, we know there's many, videos and some documents which are in the public domain. But that in itself does not warrant any South African to now put pressure that we've given you the evidence. Now, why don't you act? Because we all know, even with documentary evidence, those things still need to be tested, triangulated against other information. And the Public Protector can't make hastily decisions, and we've seen how that office, in terms of the litigation, I was quite shocking to just find out how much money has been spent on some of these court cases, money that could have gone somewhere else, and that also does not mean that a Public Protector cannot defend herself. But fact of the matter is these issues need, time, and we need to respect that institution. Already, I think, in the eyes of the public, irrespective of which side of the fence you are sitting, the image of the Public Protector's office has been damaged. And it will take some time to repair the reputational damage that has been done. And I think what has currently been happening, as I've indicated, is within the rights of opposition parties. Our democracy allows that, but it just puts, once again, that office in a very bad light. And I do foresee a situation that the Public Protector, whether the acting Public Protector, will take us into confidence with the report, but we should allow the office to do its work.
The note that that you're making is an important one, Professor, that the Public Protector needs to take the time that she needs to conduct a thorough investigation and release a report that will obviously could potentially, launch a storm of litigation for the president. But the issue of expediency is one that I think we'd be remiss if we don't touch on. And we've seen the president miss a number of deadlines in terms of submitting answers to questions that have been posed to him, not only by the Public Protector, but more recently the South African Reserve Bank. Supposedly he also missed a deadline on the 8th of September, just this week, in terms of answering questions submitted to him by the South African Reserve Bank. What are we to make of how the president is responding? You said that it is possible that he could supply answers that we do not find satisfactory, but in some instances he hasn't replied at all. And so how do we make sense of that particular development and how he is seemingly approaching this all-important investigation into his conduct?
Yeah, a very good question, Ntokozo, because, when the president ascended to this position of presidency within the African National Congress of our country, one issue which some of us were quite elated about was the issue of time, respecting time and all that, because if you look at all, and this is across the card, whenever a government, whether it's a department, institution has an event, you are guaranteed that that event will start 5-10 minutes, sometimes even an hour late. And then it's the nature of our public servants, our leaders, scheduling and all that. That I do understand. And I've also seen the response from the spokesperson of the president that the president needs time because they want to prevent, encouraging further litigations and all that. But fact of the matter is, when the president does advise us, he is supported by even a unit within the presidency. But yes, he needs to apply his mind, but this is also not good, where the president in itself, it's within his right, keeps on asking for postponements. And that's why Julius Malema also yesterday latched on to that, took advantage of that, because he said the president has run out of life, and he's now strategizing how he's going to respond. But just taking you very briefly back to what happened in Parliament a couple of days when the president, when Cyril became president, Cyril Ramaphosa, about the Bosasa issue of his son.
Right.
I think there you've learned a lesson not to respond hastily, but this is a formal process, and we expected that the president would at least, not every single time. It happened with the Public Protector, and it's now the Reserve Bank. The question is, what next? This is not good. Irrespective of the fact that he should also be afforded the time, and we know that the president is very busy, but he should make everything, and his advisors should actually take heed of this to try and protect the image, not of the president, but also the presidency, because I don't think this sends a good message.
Well, Professor, thank you so much for your time. That was political analyst Professor Sethulego Matebesi helping us to unpack the latest developments with regards to Phala Phala farm gate.